I'm gonna be filming for a very long time. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm doing a massive book haul. I uploaded a June book haul part 1 a couple of weeks ago and I just never continued with it. I fell off the face of the earth, mostly because every time I stared at my towers of shame, I literally was off-putted and I just felt disgusted with myself and I didn't want to film it because I knew it would take me a very, very long time. So let's cut to the chase and let's talk about all the books that I received from publishers and from the biggest sponsor that I've ever received so far, which is myself and my paycheck, because I bought a lot of books. So the first book that I did pick up myself is actually called The Layover by Lacey Walden. And now this one is a romance novel featuring the enemies to lovers trope. Our female heroine is actually a flight attendant and she is ready to say goodbye to her job. But what happens is that her plane actually has an emergency landing into this resort island area, and now she is stuck with the person that she hates, which just so happens to be the pilot. So the next book that I have to show you guys is The Dating Playbook by Farah Roshan, and this one was actually sent to me from HBG Canada, and this is actually published from Forever Romance. This one has the trope of fake dating. So basically our female heroine is actually a personal trainer and she is hired by our hero, who is an NFL athlete, to get him back into shape for the season. And what happens is that a journalist stops them too when they're outside and they ask them, what's the, relationship going on? Like, what's happening over here? And she blurts out that she is actually his girlfriend and now they have to pretend to fake date. I mean, it sounds like a very cute romance and I'm totally interested in reading another Farah's books. So the next book that I did pick up is Incense and Sensibility by Sonali Dev, and now Sonali Dev has written through 2 other books so far in the series, and it's basically Jane Austen retellings. This one should be a Sense and Sensibility retelling, and basically it's about our 2 characters who are on opposite sides of each other. It's an opposite attracts romance. Our heroine is very calm and very centered and she does a lot of stress management with clients, and our hero has a lot of stress. So they are thrown together to help each other get through their issues. So the next book that I did pick up for myself is actually one of my most anticipated reads. It's called It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey, and this one is told to me as a Schitt's Creek inspired romance novel involving our heroine from Schitt's Creek called Alexa. So I guess our heroine is inspired by Alexa, and if you guys haven't watched Schitt's Creek yet, definitely go check it out. It's a very dry, sarcastic humor show that kind of took over like even American media outlets by storm. So the next novel that I did pick up for myself is this UK romantic comedy novel called Are We Nearly There Yet by Lucy Vine. And now I have a couple of Lucy's books on my shelf that I've been keeping for a rainy day just in case I wanted some very dry British humor. Are We Nearly There Yet is about our female heroine who decides to kind of throw caution to the wind and go travel and explore because she feels like that she is lagging behind all her friends and she's so sick and tired of her friends kind of settling down. So she wants to be the fun one and she goes on these vacations, but she ends up actually avoiding most of her problems. So the next novel that I have is actually a romantic comedy novel by Dylan Newton, and this one is called How Sweet It Is. So this book is actually about a wedding planner who loves to plan happily ever afters, but then her best friend actually ropes her into creating like a horror extravaganza for a book launch. And there she meets our hero, who is actually a very famous author that writes a lot of horror stories, and he's actually sick and tired of writing horror stories and he wants to venture into other genres. So this is kind of their romance where they both figure out more about each other and how they want to pursue their careers afterward. So the next book that I have is actually a YA romance that was sent to me from Simon Schuster Canada. This one is called Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and this one involves our female heroine who is best friends with the boy next door, and typically they would supposedly fall in love, but what happens is that they both ignore each other too much that she doesn't feel the chemistry or the spark. But a long time crush from her early childhood days actually comes back into town, and now she and the boy next door are scheming together to get her in front of him so that she can date the new guy that just came into town that she loved all her life. And then what happens is that the boy next door is actually looking a little bit more attractive now too, and now she's kind of stuck in a love triangle. I was sent a big box of books from Source Books Casablanca, and one of the books that I included was this, I think, YA novel called Be Dazzled by Ryan LaSala, and this one sounds like it's an enemies to lovers romance, also featuring a second chance romance. So our main female heroine is in competition with her ex. So this one sounds super angsty and also super fun as well. So speaking of love triangles, this one is a love triangle romance too. This was also sent to me from Source Books Teen. This one's called Yesterday is History by Kosoko Jackson, and this involves time traveling. So our main hero actually has a liver transplant, and then one day he wakes up and he realizes that he traveled into the past, and then he wakes up again and he realizes that he's back in the present time. And this is also an LGBTQIA plus friendly novel that involves our hero who is actually having feelings between two boys, one from the past and one from the future. So speaking more about time travels, we got one that actually has a Groundhog Day theme to it. This one's called TheRehearsals by Annette Christie, and this was sent to me from HBG Canada once again. This one involves, I think, a couple that is actually engaged and they are set to be married, but then what happens is that during the wedding rehearsal, something big happens and they agree to call the whole wedding off. But then they wake up the next day and they realize it's the same day over and over again, and they're reliving one of their worst moments in their relationship. So can they have the happily ever after that they so deserve, or are they just fated to be separated? I don't know, but this one sounds really interesting. In that big box of Source Books Casablanca novels, I actually got Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I read this book last year already. I quite enjoyed it. It's an romance involving an opposites attract romance too as well. One of our heroes is actually the son of a legendary rock star, so he's been living his life kind of in his father's fame, and then our other hero is a very straight-laced lawyer, and they both shouldn't be in the same social circle, but they somehow get to know each other and they end up fake dating each other, but obviously emotions start to run real. Speaking of enemies to lovers romances, I was also sent another copy of Conventionally Yours by Annabeth Albert, and this one involves an enemies to lovers romance. I feel like they're both stuck on this road trip to go to this convention center for one of their favorite board games, and then they get to know each other and they start to learn more about their past histories, and they learn that their first impressions are not the best impressions to have of each other and that they were wrong all along. So if you're looking for a new adult novel, then I have this book called Just Please Me by Deanna Gray, and now Deanna Gray was so kind enough to actually send me a copy of her latest sports romance novel, and this one is about our main hero who is a football player and he's an athlete. He's really good at his major, which is graphic design, and then he actually sits beside our main female heroine for majority of the semester, and they actually build a trusting friendship with each other where she is able to spill her dark secrets and he is willing to help her relieve the pain and to make her forget about her problems. So this one has a friends with benefits trope with it too as well. So if you're interested, definitely check out Deanna Gray's writing. I love Lauren Lane, so when I knew that Lauren Lane was writing a new novel called To Sir with Love, I had to pick up a copy. This book is quite thin, so do not be surprised if you do pick it up in the mail. This one involves our main female heroine who texts a stranger every single day. She develops emotions for them, but she also has a real life business that she has to take care of. Her father passed away and has given her the Champagne family business store in New York City, and now she has to make sure that it is successful, but she realizes that something is stopping her from being successful and is draining all her funds, and that something is actually someone who is actually our hero who is ready to buy up the shop. So speaking of phones and technology and whatnot, what happens when you actually lose your phone and you swap phones with a total stranger at an airport? So this is exactly what happens in Accidental Tyrus by Natasha Boyd. I saw this book on Amazon all the time and it was fairly cheap, so I decided to pick it up, and this one sounds like such a fun romantic comedy. Basically, it's an enemies to lovers romance, and our heroine and our hero don't get on when they first meet each other at the airport. I think they have an argument, but then they don't realize that they both have each other's phones at the end of the day. So I think this one is going to be super fun, and especially if you like texting in your romance novels, this one might be for you. So there are a lot of COVID-19 books, and I get it because it's very relevant right now and lots of people are romanticizing COVID-19 in a way. But if you want to pick up a YA novel that features the COVID-19 pandemic, there's this one called Hello From Here, and this was sent to me from Penguin Random House Canada. So this one involves two characters who are very scared of the pandemic, as a lot of people are actually in real life, and they meet each other at the grocery aisle just as the lockdown begins. And this is their romance where they get to know each other through texting and FaceTime and kind of living through the emotional struggles of the pandemic and the relentless pressures that the pandemic has put on the population on the planet. The historical romance readathon took place in the month of June and also in July. So in that month, I picked up a lot of historical romances. And one of the historical romances that I did pick up was this one from Kieran Byrne. I never really read Kieran Byrne's writing before, but if I were to read one, of course it would be her PNR historical romance involving our female heroine who actually falls in love with a ghost. This one's called Making Merry, and basically our female heroine is different from other female heroines in historical romances. She's very focused on her work, she's very focused on her research, and when she gets hauled up in this like cottage cabin area where they say that there is a haunted room, she doesn't care because outside is a giant blizzard and she is going to die if she doesn't stay in this room. And that's where she meets our ghost, who is also our hero. So I picked up more Kieran Byrne novels, and the next one that I picked up was Seducing a Stranger. This one is actually an indie published romance. That's why it looks like this, and it's like this weird shape. I thought it would be like a bigger paperback, so when I saw this tiny ass book, I was like, okay, but you know what? Kieran Byrne is Kieran Byrne. She's a great writer. So this one involves our hero and heroine who had something special, but then she actually gets married the next day, and then suddenly she is a murder suspect, and people are telling everybody that she has murdered her husband. And then now our hero, who is actually an investigator, comes and tries to solve the crime, but he doesn't trust her because he knows that she has a fancy of always lying about things. Another historical romance that was actually sent to me from Forever Romance is this one called Not the Kind of Earl You Marry by Kate Pembroke. And now this one involves a marriage of convenience trope. Our main female heroine told the whole papers and told the whole London society that she is actually engaged to our hero, and our hero is shocked that he is being forced into this loveless marriage. So he hunts her down, and now this is their romance story of fake dating and marriage of convenience. So I was actually sent two historical romances from Sourcebooks Casablanca. They are both from Amelie Howard, and I'm so excited to read them. I actually already have a copy of this one called The Princess Stakes, but I'm excited to have two copies, so maybe I can give one away. So The Princess Stakes involves our princess who actually has to run away from the country that she rules because she is in great danger of the rebellion that's taking place in her country, and the one person that could help her is the one person she hurt the most in the past. So this one involves a second chance romance. Now in the second book, this one's called Rules for Heiresses, and it comes out in the fall of 2021. This involves our female heroine who is tired of people trying to set her up with people. So she doesn't want to be married, but then our hero needs to get married very fast, and they together have a scheme where they both are being thrown into the situation where they have to pretend that they are in love and that they are to be married. So this one seems like it's going to be fake dating and also marriage of convenience. So I've never read a Beth O'Leary book before, but I saw The Road Trip on sale in my bookstore and I had to get it because I'm all about jumping on that hype train. But this is a second chance romance from what it seems like. This one is called The Road Trip. It involves our two characters who have dated in the past and they broke up 2 years ago. They never spoke since. But then since their mutual friend has a wedding that they have to attend, they actually have a road trip romance where they kind of reconnect with each other and probably re-explore the areas that went wrong in their relationship. I've talked about the next book a lot in a lot of my recent videos, but Very Sincerely Yours by Carrie Winfrey is one of my favorite novels of this year. This one involves our heroine who works for a toy store, feels stuck at her job, and she actually indulges herself in a children's television show that our hero actually stars in, and she actually writes a fan letter to him and he actually replies, and they get to know each other and they fall in love through their letters. So in this month, I actually was sent this amazing package from Sourcebooks and also Bloom Books as well. This one involves, yes, none other than E.L. James Freed. This is the last book in the series that E.L. James is being put out that is from Christian Grey's perspective. I think this one is a retelling of the last book that I completely forgot what it's about. 50 Shades Freed. So it's the Christian Grey perspective of 50 Shades Freed. So will I read this book? I don't know. I really don't know if I'm going to read this book. I mean, I already read the 50 Shades trilogy. Why do I need to read it from Christian's perspective? Everything is basically the same, but I'm still grateful for a copy of this. Also, E.L. James did kind of sign this book, which is pretty cool too as well. And then in the package, I actually got a couple of things that were pretty fun. I mean, I've got this passport holder that says 50 Shades Freed and this travel tag that also says 50 Shades Freed. Now, this is going to be very interesting conversation that I have with airport security if they ever decide to do a closer look at my luggage tags. And then I got some soap, I think. And then I have some petals to sprinkle around in my little bath that I could take. And they also gave me a keychain with some charms on it. So if you guys are unfamiliar with 50 Shades of Grey, basically he gets her a bracelet, I believe, with a lot of the charms that represent the places that they went to, which is really cute portion of the story. I don't know. And then I got some gummies that I really wanted to eat, but then I figured that maybe I should take a photo of them first for my Bookstagram before I start eating my package. So if you're looking for a grumpy sunshine trope, a darker historical romance, I think I got the one for you. So this one I picked up is also from Kerrigan Byrne. This one's called Dancing with Danger and involves our heroine who loves sleuthing. She thinks she is Sherlock Holmes and she goes to different parts of the city that is very murky and very dark and, you know, a little bit dangerous. And there she gets arrested by our hero who has a dark history. He has an empire to run. He literally has no time for a blue stocking, you know, sleuthing female individual that he is severely attracted to. And this one sounds like it's going to be such a fun romance. I really can't wait to dive into this one. And if you're looking for a historical romance that kind of involves a protective trope, maybe pick up this one. So this one's from Darcy Burke. This one's called The Duke of Daring, and this involves our female heroine who is in desperate need of money. So she decides to dress up as a boy and go to one of the gambling hells of London. And she is gambling, she's having fun until she realizes that she has been caught by our hero, and our hero offers to help protect her while she's undercover and kind of like trying to make a lot of money. So moving on to some contemporary romances that I did pick up. This one is called The Kindred Spirits Supper Club by Amy E. Reinhardt. And I have a couple of Amy's books because they sound amazing. They sound so fun. They sound so witty and they just sound so different from other romances that I did pick up. So this one involves our female heroine who can actually see ghosts and she can communicate with them. But because she sees ghosts, she feels that she is too quirky to assimilate into real life. So sometimes she gets caught up in conversations with spirits. And then she falls in love with our hero who is normal, or so he seems, but he has his own motives of trying to save his company business, and she is trying to kind of have her ghosts and also have a real relationship too as well. It was a kind of a very women's fiction novel because I read this book already, so I was a little bit disappointed by it, but it was pretty fun for the ghosts aspect. So if you're a fan of Hollywood romances, maybe pick up this one. This one's called I Kissed a Girl by Janet Alexander, and this one was sent to me by Sourcebooks Casablanca in this big ass box. But this one involves two characters who work on a film set. So we have one who is a makeup artist, and then the other one is a young actress that hasn't really broken into Hollywood yet. She's like a B-list artist, so she's not really that popular, but she is still, you know, known. And this is their relationship that they form on the set because they fall in love and they both help each other try to like climb the ladder of success. I don't know, it sounds really cute though. And this one comes out in August 2021. We keep flipping through genres, but the next book that I have is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton, and this is a historical romance that was recently published by Berkeley Romance. This one has fantasy and paranormal elements to it as well, so be warned. I read this book already. I did not like it. I just didn't like it. So this involves our two characters who are assassins, and he is hired to kill her. She's not going to die without a fight. So this is kind of an enemies to lovers romance, and there's a lot of crime solving involved, and there's a lot of paranormal elements like houses that float. And there's a lot of guns. I don't know. So if you're into romances that feature a lot of like nerdy elements to it, I think you're gonna really like this book called Out of Character by Annabeth Albert. And this one comes out in July. It already came out already, but this one involves a second chance romance between our two characters who are actually best friends and that broke it off somewhere in high school, and they meet again so that they can accomplish the same goal. They're trying to look for rare trading cards, and they do a lot of cosplay, and they both have their own internal struggles. So I'm excited to to pick up an Annabeth Albert book. I feel like she has really good writing and her stories are fairly cute. And then jumping back into some paranormal romances, I think I'm gonna really like this one. This one's called Witch Please by Anne Aguirre, and this is from Sourcebooks Casablanca once again. This one comes out in September 2021. This involves our female heroine who is a modern day witch. So I feel like this book is kind of like a bewitched like inspired book. Our female heroine is just trying to live life under the radar. Meanwhile, our hero, who is very grumpy, does not want to deal with a quirky, extravagant character like our female heroine because he has a bakery to run and then he also has a family to take care of. And if you're looking for some second chance romance, maybe pick up this one called Gimme Some Sugar by Molly Harper. And I picked this book up because I loved her series called A Southern Electric series, and this is the last book. And I finally bit the bullet and bought this book even though it was kind of pricey. This one involves our two characters who liked each other back in high school, but then they never admitted their feelings for each other, and then suddenly she comes back and then he is there again and he is not letting her go the second time around. So I have received many packages this month, and I also received this amazing package from St. Martin's Press that also included a mini chalkboard that I actually drew on. So this one is called The Therapist by B.A. Paris, and I love thrillers. I never read a thriller this year, which is like devastating to me because I tried it out last year and I absolutely fell in love with the genre, especially B.A. Paris's writing. So Behind Closed Doors was one of my favorite thrillers of last year and also for my lifetime. I loved it. It was so creepy. It was so dark. So The Therapist is her latest release. It involves our two characters who have moved into a quaint neighborhood, and it seems very peaceful. It seems really nice. Neighbors are friendly, but then she discovers a devastating secret that happened in her house. And now she's very connected with the therapist who used to live in that house, and she's growing more and more obsessed. So I feel like there might be an unreliable narrator. So I also picked up the latest novel from Mahari McFarlane called Just Last Night. This one involves four people who are group of friends who love each other, would die for each other, but one of the people in the group is our main female heroine, and she's actually in love with another person in that group. And then one day at trivia night, something happens and lots of secrets and lots of drama happen. So I don't know what's going to happen with this book. I mean, I read some of Mahari's like books before and I liked them, so that's why I picked this one up, and it was also on sale. So I don't know what is going to happen. I feel like it's going to be really dramatic. So I also picked up an indie published historical romance called Lady August by Becky Michaels, and this one has such a gorgeous cover on it. So this one involves our female heroine who thinks that she is nothing special, but then she realizes that she is actually a wealthy heiress and that she was a long lost daughter of an earl. And then the solicitor that brings her back into society is actually our hero. And this is like an opposites attract historical romance. And if you're looking for a marriage of convenience trope, this one is for you. This is another historical romance that's indie published called A Charm of Magpies by Iveta O'Malley. And now this one involves our two characters who are forced to get married because their families think that their union will bring them a lot of wealth and bring them a lot of resources that they both need. And if you're looking for something that's light and summery, I think this one's for you. This one's called A Midsummers Night's Romp by Katie McAllister, and this one involves our two characters who are starring on a new reality television show called Dig Britain, and it's an archaeology reality show, and our heroine is attracted to her co-star, but her co-star is very serious, and this one sounds so fun, and it sounds super funny too as well. Now the next book that I want to talk about is actually this young reader's novel called Mindy Kim and the Trip to Korea by Lila Lee. I love Mindy Kim. I think her books are so fun, like this whole entire series. She is actually a young reader's author as well as a YA author, and this one is going to break my heart because now our main character, Mindy Kim, is going back to Korea to go visit her grandparents, and I just love books like this that talk about family and culture. And then I picked up two historical romances that feature characters of color by Dahlia Rose. This one's called Her Scottish Rogue, and this one's called His Highland Queen. And basically this one is like a bodyguard historical romance, and this one involves pirates and ships. So these two sound super fun. And if you're looking for another bodyguard romance, this one's for you. This one's A Paradise Found by Dahlia Rose. This involves our female heroine who actually runs in the park very frequently until one day she stumbles upon a killer who is killing his latest victim, and now she's in danger, and the only person that can protect her is our hero. So this one sounds very spooky, and hopefully it's going to be very good as well. But anyways, I went through a ton of books for this book haul, so hopefully I'll come back with another part 2. So far, my Tower of Shame is going down quite a bit, which is pretty good, but I also have a lot of eBay historical romance books that I have to show you too as well. So here's hoping that I come back in the corner of shame. I'll see you guys again next time in a new video. Bye.